Is there one moment from your time in service that really stands out, that you carry with you to this day? Maybe the lesson that you pulled out of that is something you're going to use to teach about life.
I was trained by other Marines to do a specific job, and had they not trained me, I wouldn't have survived.
When the first tower fell, all the guys standing there at the station, we knew that there was guys in there just doing their job. They gave their life for that.
All the men and women who've lost their lives because of their service, because of the burdens of war. I don't want to keep losing people to the burdens of war.
Man, I'm impressed from hearing your story, and I appreciate you sharing all that with us. Good morning and welcome to this special edition of Lessons from the Front. I'm your host, Todd Boating. On this Patriot Day, we remember the 2,977 souls taken from us through heinous attacks carried out on American soil, and the incredible stories of patriots who rose above the chaos. A morning that began with bright sunshine and blue skies quickly morphed into darkness, wrapped in wailing sirens and cries for help. At 8:46 a.m., America changed forever as Flight 11 crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. The events would continue to unfold for the next 102 minutes. At 9:03, Flight 175 hit the South Tower, making it abundantly clear America was now under attack. As first responders braved the hell of the Twin Towers, the scope of that day's terror now increased when Flight 77 hit the Pentagon at 9:37. And at 10:03 a.m., in the air, passengers aboard Flight 993 made the decision to overrun the cockpit when they realized the intent of their captors. Their decision saved countless lives. Meanwhile, in New York, the unthinkable occurs as the Twin Towers fall from the New York skyline and into the streets below. 343 New York firefighters, 37 Port Authority police officers, 23 NYPD officers dead. Additionally, 2,192 civilians at the World Trade Centers, 125 people working at the Pentagon, and 265 passengers aboard the 4 planes perished that day. From the ashes of this darkness, a nation came together. Ordinary people clearing the pile at Ground Zero, giving blood in record numbers, and making donations from around the country to first responders on the front lines of the fight against terrorism. The term American held a renewed meaning to all of us, and service above self was the common thread. Over the past few months on Lessons from the Front, I've had the privilege of hearing how the events of that day impacted the lives of Americans, both in service and those who were called to service as a result. From 2 men who experienced the events of 9/11 firsthand to those who answered the call, these are their stories.
Well, on the morning of 9/11, they had a meeting to go over a program called EMEU. Right before the meeting was getting ready to start, the general said, "Hey, we're missing 2 copies of this briefing." Sergeant Major jumps up and says, "I'll get it." And of course, the general laughs. He goes, "No, we got a new lieutenant colonel. Lieutenant colonel can go get the briefings for us." So everybody laughed, drank some of their coffee. Well, the new lieutenant has to run down the hallway and make copies for the meeting. Yeah, got it. I'll get the next guy when he comes in, was what I was thinking at the time. Went back to the office where the copy machine was. And when I got back to the office, there was an explosion, a big explosion. The airplane went through the wall pretty near where they were having that meeting. Everybody in the meeting was killed.
How far was it from the office where you were having the meeting, the room where y'all were having the meeting, to the office where you got the copies and the coffee? How far?
Maybe 50, 75 feet down the hall.
So you were 50 to 75 feet away from the heart of all this.
Yes, yeah.
When you say it was one of the best days of your life, I'm assuming because you saw the humanity, the good side of humanity that day.
And it wasn't just for that day. It lasted for a while. Everybody there rose to a higher level.
Everybody was an American that day.
Everybody was an
First and
American that
foremost.
day, yeah. And for a long time after that.
Thank you for everything you've done for this country.
Thank you for everything you've done too. Thank you for your service, okay?
How did it start for you?
I was on vacation, and my groups were normally in, but I was working on the side. I was running a machine, and one of the guys on the job site said that plane just crashed into the towers, and I was like, really? And then they said another one hit, and I says, I gotta go. This ain't an accident. When I got to the firehouse, my father happened to be standing outside the firehouse, believe it or not, and he says, Joe, Mike's working. I said, all right, I'm going in there now, and I'm gonna go get him. So, we took off. We went to the ferry, and while we were on the ferry, the other tower collapsed right down. Both of them came down. We split up. I had my guys, and we started searching. And I got on the radio. I was trying to call my brother, see if the company was there. But a lot of guys, a couple of chiefs I ran into, and they didn't even want to talk to me because they knew everybody was gone.
So, in addition to your brother and your cousin, there were 11 members of your unit that went down that day as well. Is that correct? And then
Actually, it was 14 people that left the firehouse that day, and only one came back.
only one came back.
Yeah, he was in a specialized unit, and he was one of the lucky ones.
What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about humanity? What lessons could you take away from that experience?
The first couple of weeks after 9/11, there was no place you want to live than in New York. I mean, they were clapping, cheering. We couldn't do no wrong. A year later, everybody forgets real soon, especially if it's not personal to forget. And, it's just a shame that, people say, oh, they got the ceremony going on again. When they're going to let it go? We don't let it go. We don't forget.
So do you remember where you were when 9/11 hit?
I was getting ready for calculus, and somebody had run in our room and said a plane hit the World Trade Center. We turned on the TV, and the first tower was smoking. And by the time I left for my class, the second tower had been hit.
Is it safe to say that was your trigger to get in the military?
I think it's lit a fuse that was on a very slow burn. I felt an oath of responsibility to my country that I'd never sworn to. And I admired my buddies that were doing it. I talked about them all the time. I wrote them letters and couldn't wait to get their letters back. And 9/11 happens, and it was clear to me that these guys were going to go to war and defend our country. And yet here I was, in college in a fraternity. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it definitely wasn't purpose-filled in a fight for the greater good or defending our Constitution or our country, our freedoms.
I was actually skipping class when 9/11 happened, and I actually was in our student center there, and looking up on TV, I see, the towers falling, and I look to my right, and there's an Army recruiter sitting right there at his stand with his fist balled up. I can see his eyes tearing up. And I didn't walk over there to him, but just something in me just snapped. That's when I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And that night I went home and I told both my parents I want to join the military. A couple days later, a buddy of mine that was a senior in high school called me, and then he told me, hey, I'm going to the Marine Corps recruiting office tomorrow. Do you want to come? I said yes. And me, him, and two other of our buddies, all four of us went. And it was probably the easiest sell the recruiter ever had. August of 2002, I was officially in boot camp, MCRD, San Diego. Started on this journey.
So 9/11 was really what drove you into the military. Prior to 9/11, was there really any thought about that?
I didn't think I was going to serve the military until that moment. That was really what changed it for me.
Describe the feeling you had when you witnessed that as a senior in high school.
For me, it was a little bit, a little scared, But you're so young at that point in time, you don't really understand what that might mean. But there was a lot of anger. I felt a lot of anger, and then also a weird sense of pride that, hey, like this, we got to do something about this. It really changed the trajectory of my life for sure.
Tell me what 9/11 meant for you.
I was at the fire station that day when we saw the first tower on fire. We knew what the guys were doing there. They were doing the same thing we would have done. They were going to put that fire out. One of the things that distinctly stands out in my mind was when the first tower fell. Pardon my language, but the very first thing that came out of my mouth when that first tower was, "We just lost a load of firemen." We knew, all the guys standing there at the station, we knew that there was guys in there just doing their job. They gave their life for that. To this day, I feel like sometimes in the fire service, we get a little bit of unwarranted respect just for the fact that those guys did such an amazing job that day.
And what I would tell you is in the days after 9/11, New York City and the 9/11 family saved us in ways that you may never know. Because what the enemy could not figure out and they could not understand is why people ran towards the building as they were falling. And how the nation did not divide, but they came together.
Incredible stories of service and sacrifice. We thank you all for being willing to share your story with us. So now it's your turn. We've posted a list of those 2,977 names on our website at carrytheload.org/Patriot Day. We invite you to download that list and pick a name. There you will also find a bib to download. We ask that you honor them by remembering their name. Pick one name, remember that name, and mention their name to others so that their memory doesn't die. Wear their name for an hour, for a quick trip to the grocery store, walk a few miles in their honor, or wear their name all day. It doesn't matter. Just keep their name and their sacrifice alive. And as you carry them on social media, use #CarryTheLoad, #AlwaysRemember, and #Patriot Day to remind others that our freedoms are not eternal unless we consciously choose to keep them. Together, we will make sure these victims of evil are remembered. So from everyone at Carry the Load, we thank you for joining us. We leave you with the names of those souls lost 19 years ago today. Stay safe and always have a good answer to this question. Who are you carrying?
I knelt by the soldier, a brother in arms. Dog tags in hand, I held him close in my arms. I pulled out his letter to his wife and his son. Words to be read should this fateful day come. I thought of all the soldiers who died to defend this country of ours in some foreign land. How they gave all and lived by a code only a soldier knows. I'll carry that load tonight for all those who sacrificed for our freedoms and God-given rights. I'll watch over them and I'll carry their load tonight. Back in the States, my tour of duty done. First stop I made was to a widow and son. Through tears of soldiers, last words were read about God and country and a life well led. I made my way home, short to a tent, a party thrown by my family and friends. Red, white, and blue balloons, Memorial Day. I thought of all those who wouldn't be here, and I pray I'll carry that load tonight for all those who sacrificed for our freedoms and God-given rights. I'll watch over them, and I'll carry their load tonight. On a day meant to honor all those who have died, it's become another holiday for the almighty dollar sign. I had to do something, I had to change some hearts. So I took off down the road on a one-man march. Passed a policeman, he said, "Son, are you alright? You look like you seen a ghost or two out here tonight." I was over there too, and not a day goes by I don't think about the men and women I left behind. Carry that load tonight for all those who sacrificed for our freedoms and God-given rights. I'll watch over them, and I'll carry their load tonight. Carry that load tonight for all those who sacrificed for our freedoms and God-given rights. I'll watch over them, and I'll carry their load tonight. I'll watch over them, and I'll carry their load tonight.